Colors. The 1988 classic, surprisingly directed by Dennis Hopper, is one of my all-time favorite movies. I couldn't even tell you how many times I've seen this movie, or how much my brother and I quoted it to each other growing up as kids, and how much we still quote it to each other more than 30 years later. Sadly, I feel like people just dismiss Colors as a cheesy, no-class gangster movie, but if you really pay attention, you'll see the importance of this film. Colors was one of the first really big Hollywood gangster movies, and it tried to show what was really going on in the streets of LA. Also, let's not forget how many great actors were in Colors. Of course, we know Sean Penn, Robert Duvall, Maria Conchita Alonso.
I'm your home girl. This is my
Yes, we all know. But what about Don Cheadle doing an amazing job as Rocket, who of course went on to star in Boogie Nights, the Avengers movies, and a ton of other stuff. Damon Wayans as T-Bone, who was legendary on In Living Color and had tons of other movies and TV shows. Did you know that Gran Bush, the actor that plays Larry Looney Tunes Sylvester, is a Shakespearean-trained actor, and according to what I've read, he was offered a scholarship to study at Juilliard, but turned it down to take care of his sick mother. Glenn Plummer as High Top, Trinidad Silva as Frog, who sadly passed away just 3 months after Colors was released. He was in the middle of filming the Weird Al movie UHF when he was in an auto accident with a drunk driver. Multiple appearances by a young Mario Lopez, Courtney Gaines, who is in Children of the Corn, Back to the Future, The Burbs, Can't Buy Me Love, Gerardo, who was also in Can't Buy Me Love with Courtney Gaines, but more importantly, had the one-hit wonder Rico Suave. Alright, enough talk. Let's go check out these filming locations. During the opening credits of the movie, we see Hodges and McGavin driving around Los Angeles, mostly downtown. So let's go see what we can find. Right here we see Rocket's van coming down this alley, Robert Craig standing out front of this house. Now the house itself isn't too recognizable, it might even be a complete rebuild, but this is more of the shot we get with the neighbor's roof line. Once Hodges and McGavin show up, we can see these houses in the background. This apartment building and this house next door can clearly be seen. If you look at the bottom of that telephone pole, there's a bent pipe, and that can be seen in the movie. Right here, this is where the neighbor would have been standing against her fence telling Hodges that she ain't seen nothing. Right here, this is where Hodges and McGavin are driving and they see the two Crips crossing the street. They're crossing right here. And of course, that's the building where the lady's standing out front and tells them they need more help getting the gangs off the street.
You get them off the street.
Lady, we're trying.
You need more help.
Now in the movie it was some kind of beauty salon, now it's an auto electric shop, but what's cool is those are the exact same bars on the window. If you look at the designs, exact same bars from more than 30 years ago. Besides being a completely different business, the building looks exactly the same as it did in the movie. They come around the corner right there, and this is where they find Killer B hanging out with Rocket and T-Bone and all the others. That mural's long gone, but this is the spot. Pretty much sitting in the exact same spot as Hodges and McGavin right now. Right here, this is where they would have pulled over. So if you notice that line in the sidewalk right there, that's the line that Killer B is walking along as he approaches the car. Right around the corner is the alley where they first find High Top. Now it's a private road, can no longer drive down it. But right down there, that's the alley where they chase High Top. This is where the burger stand used to be that Louisa worked at. It was torn down and now this apartment building's here. However, this building can be seen as they're pulling into the burger stand. This intersection looks exactly like it did in the movie. I can't believe that all the same shops are still in business from 1988. I remember driving by this mural all the time as a kid. I'm really happy to see that it's still up. We see Hodges and McGavin heading down the street this way as they approach the guys in white fence who would have been hanging out right there in that little road leaning up against their truck. Hodges and McGavin are heading up this road as Hodges is explaining to McGavin about 21st Street just before Felipe throws the rock at their car. They would have been standing up on top of that hill and come running down and gone down that way, right down this staircase. In this far away shot, you can get a view of that Security Pacific building that was behind Felipe. Right there, that's where Hodges and McGavin would have stopped their police car. McGavin would have been standing up against that fence right there, looking at them running down the hill. Those two houses right there can be seen in the movie, completely recognizable. McGavin would have been standing right here at the fence, looking at them run down. Of course, this view looks completely different because of this apartment building. This wasn't there, this was all open. They would have been running down the hill right here, right down there, and we're going to go down there right now and take a look at that. Up there, that's where we get the shot of McGavin standing up on the street watching them run away. Right there, that's the actual hill that we see them come sliding down, and then they go right past that old subway tunnel. They come running down this way and go right past that old graffitied building. This is all part of the Belmont Tunnel to Lucca substation, a historical landmark. This is the building we see as McGavin's watching them run away. This is also where later in the movie we see 21st Street have the meeting with the gang counselor. Back behind this building is where they finally catch up with Felipe and his friends, and Hodges has the talk with 21st Street. This whole thing now is the courtyard for this apartment building. And right here, this is where the church would have been, where Robert Craig's funeral was, right before the drive-by. Now that building's been torn down, it's long gone, but that building right there can be seen. Right there, that's the alley that they chased the car down after the drive-by shooting. And right here, this is where they're having the car chase after the drive-by shooting, and their car flips over right here by the Watts Towers. That's the Watts Towers right there. It's just kind of hard to tell because they're doing some renovations on it. Carson Sheriff Station. This is the driveway where we first see Hodges and McGavin in their new yellow patrol car. They pull into this yard and meet up with the sheriffs, and this is where he first gets his nickname, Pac-Man. Hodges and Pac-Man come here with the sheriffs to do the busts on those two houses. Right here, this is where Hodges, Pac-Man, and the sheriff were waiting to do the bust. They're parked right here next to the Port of Los Angeles. They get the call to do the bust and they move up the road this way. We see them pass by this house here on the left. Approach Oso's house. Pac-Man goes around the back. Right there, that's where the guy comes running out. They have the fight with him right there in the driveway. Hodges and the sheriff are standing right there looking at the Port of Los Angeles over here. This is the spot where we see him crossing out the names on the wall. Pac-Man taps him on the shoulder and he goes running across the street. But sadly, that building with the Jesus mural has been torn down. Really bums me out that they tore down this building. I remember my dad bringing me here when I was a kid to show it to me because he knew how much I loved this movie. Right here on the corner, this is where they roll up on Dr. Feelgood as he's passing off the drugs to the little kids. And across the street at these apartments, this is where everyone's standing outside watching as he punches and arrests Dr. Feelgood. Hodges and Pac-Man are leaving Venice Beach when they see High Top sitting in traffic in his Corvette. High Top comes running down the street this way before stealing a motorcycle right in front of this building. So High Top is riding the motorcycle this way down Pacific towards Venice Boulevard. He rides right past this apartment building. On the corner of Pacific and Venice, this is the restaurant that High Top flies through the window, takes the woman hostage, and has that fight with Pac-Man and Hodges. It all happened right inside this building. Pac-Man comes out of Venice Boulevard right there, causing High Top to quickly turn his motorcycle and go through the window of this restaurant. And funny enough, it looks like after more than 30 years, they still haven't fixed the window that he goes through. Formerly Nate's Friendly Liquor, now Happy's Liquor. We see him walking up these steps as he hears the police sirens. He takes off running to the back parking lot. Hodges and Pac-Man come racing up this driveway. They round the corner and pull up behind his van, which would have been parked right here. He comes running up the steps, which are right over there, and jumps in his van. Pac-Man and Hodges pull up behind him and jump out. When all the police cars come racing up this driveway, you can clearly see that mural in the background. It's still here after all these years. Well, the top half of it at least. This is where the abandoned house used to be, where Rocket and the Crips hung out at, but it's a completely different house. The entire neighborhood is completely unrecognizable. But right here on the front lawn is where Rocket and Larry Sylvester have that final shootout. What's crazy about this location is they give you the actual real address when they're calling it out over the police radio.
1070 Hicks, Ganallan Hicks. 1070 Hicks, Ganallan Hicks.
That house on the left, that's the 21st Street Party House, and the house on the right was where the victims of the drive-by shooting lived.
Look at me. Look at me, Pac-Man. This is me too, man.
Rocket, Dogman, and Shooter would have been heading down the street this way, looking at the 21st Street house right before they do the drive-by. As 21st Street gets ready to go get their revenge on Rocket and his gang, we see them walking up this alley. That house on the left with the chimney can clearly be seen. Over here on the right side is where the cars come pulling out, and they stop right here next to the chimney to let everybody in. Like I said, the cars come pulling out from somewhere over here, quite possibly this backyard. This is Vista Hermosa Park, and this is supposedly where the finale of the movie takes place, where Hodges gets shot. Up those steps are some hiking trails, and possibly the location we're looking for. Across the street over there, that's where the 21st Street hangout was, so it kind of makes sense that they would have shot that scene here. But it would be almost impossible to figure out where that took place. It's just a bunch of hiking trails and overgrown bushes and trees. So this here is the back side of the park, and this looks more right. I could see it being up here. Pac-Man's cruising with his new partner down Santa Ana when they see the kids in the alley dealing drugs. Some of them hop that fence right there, and some of them take off running down the alley. They walk back to the patrol car, and Pac-Man gives him the talk about the two bulls, and the movie ends. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the soundtrack. One of my all-time favorite movie soundtracks ever. I mean, everything on here is great. Colors, Raw, Butcher Shop, Go On Girl, the best version of Paid in Full. Also, did you know that if you've never seen the original VHS of Colors, you're missing about 7 minutes of extra footage. When they put out the VHS, they added about 7 minutes of footage that wasn't in the original theatrical version. And then for some reason, when they made the DVD, they took that footage back out. They didn't include it as deleted scenes. It was just gone. So if you want to see that extra footage, get yourself an original VHS copy. That was a ton of fun checking out those locations. I hope you guys had at least half as much fun watching it as I had putting it together. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys soon.